Alright, welcome back to the Supercoach Enough channel. In this video we're going to preview round 6 of the 2025 NRL Fantasy season. So before we look at my team and what we're doing this week, we'll have a look at the most popular trade-ins and trade-outs across the game. So starting off with the trade-ins, and the hottest trade-in this week is Dylan Egan. So absolutely agree with this. I brought him in last week, so I don't need to do it this week. But yeah, I don't think it's too late. I like his job security. Obviously, he's still fairly cheap. And yeah, just was talked about as a bit of a gun last year as a potential cash cow. But just took him 12 months to get here. So if you haven't got him, I think you can still get on Dylan Egan. Nathan Cleary at number 2. So if you did trade him out, obviously the perfect opportunity to bring him in this week with a couple of outs there. So, yep, if you haven't got Cleary, bring him in. CY Wong at number 3. So I don't hate this pick entirely. Obviously, he's made a bit of money this year. But I think if you're looking forward a few weeks down the track to Origin, the Roosters have a really great bye schedule through the Origin period. So for me, there's a few options that I'm looking at, either a Wong, Nafahu White, or Nat Butcher, in that sort of, being able to cover through Origin. Yeah, it's one of those ones where obviously if you want CY Wong, get on now because he will continue to go up in price. I think Nafahu White also does have still a nice lowish break even. And Nat Butcher's one that you might be able to have a bit more of a look at. I don't remember all the numbers off the top of my head. But yeah, if you like Wong, you can probably get on with the view to using him until, I guess, post-Origin. Jamal Fogarty, so I guess as a cut price keeper sort of option, very similar in price to Humphreys. I don't hate it. Jake Clifford's another one. He's looked really good since he's forced his way back into the team. And he looked really good at the back end of last year. So I don't hate this as a pick. I guess because I'm not overly convinced on either of these guys, I'm not looking that way this week. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Toby Couchman. So, yeah, obviously the dual position is nice. The minutes are nice. It's all good. I think, the only difference between him and, say, a Nafahu White is that Origin bye coverage. I haven't looked at the Dragons too closely, but we will talk about that in a bit more detail in a couple of weeks. So, yeah, if you want to bring in Couchman, I don't hate it. Tom Jenkins, don't know if it's too late to get on him now necessarily. As an owner, I can't sort of say that it's not a good pick to bring in because he's been going well. Yeah, I guess if you need a cheap wing fullback, I think he's still cheap enough. Probably got a bit of value in him. So, okay. Hugo Savala is one that I'm really interested in, but I am going to wait for next week. And I guess the reason for that is looking at his profile, he does have a break even of 39. So, so far he's averaging 6 in 13 minutes coming off the bench, albeit playing a little bit through the middle. So didn't get any tackles in the last game against the Titans, -4. That's a bit stiff. Maybe he was playing in the halves for that game. I'm not too sure. But we'll just see how they set up on Friday night. I think Sam Smith will be the dominant half. Savala will just offer a bit more of a running threat on the edge, which is what they want. But again, it's a wait and see. You can have a free look this week. But yeah, even if he does go big, he's not going to be much more expensive next week. So Savala's on the watch list for sure, but not a trade in this week. Jaden Campbell. So I think he is a keeper at the wing fullback position, and obviously the halves coverage is nice as well. So big fan of getting in Jaden Campbell for Humphreys this week. Lockie Hubner. Yep, I've got him in my team already, but looks the goods. Looks like he's a favourite of Wayne Bennett. So I think, this might be the last chance to get on if you're looking for a cheap middle. Caltoga's looked pretty good on the edge. So if you think he can, sort of become a cut price centre keeper, I don't hate it bringing him in now. But just looking at this list, I feel like I'm doing pretty well with fantasy because a few of these guys have already got in. Obviously, I faded Wong at the start of the year. Bit of a mistake. Jai Gray's an interesting one with Latrell moving into the halves now. So, it looks like there is a bit more job security around Gray. I'm not too sure on his price point, but it's not the worst shout. Hiroti is another one. Um, he's only available at wing fullback, but has played in the centres. Did score a career high on the weekend, but I did notice that he's only played 2 games in the centres, and the other one was a pretty good game. It was a few years ago now. So maybe in the centres where he does a bit more tackling and that, he has a bit of work rate with running and that. Potentially, yes. Thomas Cant is one I'm not keen on in fantasy just because his price started so high. I think it was about 500k or 450k or something. He's already made another 100. So I think if you bring him in now, you'd want him to get to about 700k. I don't know if that's quite inning. He definitely has a bit of upside, which is nice, but you're not really rewarded for that upside in fantasy as much. So probably wouldn't go there myself, but I can see why people would. And Stafford Tower, I think he's already made a lot of his money, so you might be a little bit late on the boat for that one. But on the trade outs list, number one, Jamie Humphries, I think, he's done his job for us, made a few 100k, but he's out for a few weeks with injury. And when he comes back, he will dip off the back of his low score. So, might be through the origin period, he could be useful. We could grab him at a bit of a discount, so we'll take the cash we've made and run now. Jack Cole is one I think you can hold. He's only 1 week, I think, with a concussion. Obviously, he doesn't have a lot of upside now that Cleary's back. But I think my plan is just to wait a week, have a look at Savala, and then I could just do that trade next week. Nawangani Tawasi is a hold. He is named in the 18 jumper, and the rumour is if he's fit, he will come into the side, probably at the expense of Dom Young. So I think he is a hold. I don't think he's that far away from coming back into this team. Jack Gajeski is one we can get rid of, just doesn't have any upside. Stephen Crichton, yeah, I guess you could get rid of him, obviously on the bye this week, but hasn't really shown any upside with the Dogs. And with Burton coming back next week, if injury reports are to be believed, most of the attack will go back to the left edge. Adam Reynolds, again, if you brought him in, he's probably one you could keep for a bit longer. I think if you're trading Cleary, fair enough. But other than that, I wouldn't be trading Adam Reynolds. Tom Gilbert is one I have flirted with trading. Obviously, moving to the edge isn't as ideal. There's not as much work to do out there for him. But I'm going to hold and just have another look this week and reassess. As I said, he is probably like a prime target to trade to a Wong or one of those Roosters forwards that are going to give us good coverage through the origin period. Tom Duffy, if you've still got him, he can absolutely go. Zach Lomax with his injury, I think he's out for a few weeks, so he can go. Tino is only suspended for 1 week, I'm pretty sure, so I think he's a hold. Jack Bird, don't think that role's worked out, so he can go. Seyfarth, a few people trading him out in Supercoach as well. So I guess if it's for an Egan, like as a cash maker, fine. If it's like a Couchman that you think's a cheap keeper option, perhaps. Aside from that, just stick it out, see how he goes. John Bateman, haven't looked at him too closely to be honestly, so you can cut him. Mitch Kenny, I don't think's ever been relevant, so he can go. Kalen Ponga's one I would hold. So obviously didn't go great last weekend, but that was an absolute forgive. Given they had two injuries to start the game, and then playing against the Bulldogs that are pretty renowned defensively. I think that's about what you could expect from Ponga out of that game last week. So keep the faith. I think he's a season-long keeper. Um, don't trade Kalen Ponga. So in terms of my moves this week, just the one trade. So Jamie Humphries obviously out, and there's a few options at half that would be good. But the one that I know I definitely want in my team as a keeper, albeit probably as a wing fullback in the long term, is Jaden Campbell. So I'm taking this opportunity to bring him in. Obviously, those cheaper options I've already got, like a Dylan Egan, a Katoga, a Hubner. So, pretty comfortable with my cash gen at the moment. So, not sort of panicking on doing a second trade. I've only got a 171k anyway. So, I could upgrade Gilbert to a keeper. But at the moment, the player that I probably would like is on a buy this week, Jacob Preston. So, yeah, so happy to hold Gilbert for a week. And, the rest of the team is looking pretty good. So, that's the move this week. How the team sets up, if it'll ever load. No, it's just got to think about it. There we go. So Matt Mazzell's still at hooker. We've obviously got Riley Smith on the bench, and it looks like that the trade for Dylan Walker coming in and having him as an extra middle forward just seems to have really unlocked a lot of Para's attack, which is good signs for Smith, and also Yongi as well. Mids obviously don't need any explanation. Hopgood will keep the faith in despite a lowish score. Dylan Egan making some good cash. We're happy to have him. Campbell and Cleary in the halves. Toa, continues to score quite well. And Kautoga, we can slot in the centres comfortably. And then Ponga, we like at the back as a keeper. Yongi, as I said, I think Dylan Walker is unlocking a bit of that attack. So we expect some good stuff from him now. And Tom Jenkins has been scoring well, has the matchup against the Dolphins this week, which we don't hate. And then on my bench, Barnett, off the bye, obviously hasn't set the world on fire, but does cover middle and edge, which we like. As we said, Tom Gilbert moving to the edge isn't ideal, but we're going to have a look for a week. Hubner's looking good in the middle as a cheap option, so we'll keep him. Metcalf may or may not play this week. I am tossing up between Metcalf or Smith for the final spot on the bench. Obviously, a tough fixture against the Storm, but it is an afternoon game, which hopefully dry down there in Melbourne. Haven't checked the forecast, but could create some opportunity for Metcalf. Riley Smith, as we said, sort of starting now. Looks like the attack's clicking with that move with Dylan Walker. So happy we've got him in. Rob Toyer, we still like. I think he's still got a bit of cash to make. And as we said, the Roosters do have good buy coverage. So probably going to keep on to Toyer. Nawangani Tawasi will hang on to as well, given that sounds like they do want to get him in the side as soon as he's fit. And Cole, as we said, this could easily become Savala next week. We're just going to have a bit more of a look at Savala before we commit to that trade. So pretty happy with the squad as it is. In terms of captain, vice captain, um, obviously Cleary's back in the conversation now, or the three middles if we want to play it safe. Um, how are we going overall? 14k. Let's do it. Captain Cleary. If it'll ever work. There we go. I might even just throw the VC on Isaiah Yo this week. Just get it out of the way. Not that we need to be doing big moves, but it's always nice to just have those players locked out after the first game anyway. So then it gives you a bit more flexibility because we do have that extra trade if we need it. So we might just do that this week and see how we go. But the rest of the team I've set up, as I said, not sure about interchange for. Do need to have a bit of a closer look at things like the weather and that sort of thing. Um, but yeah, those three will be good on field on the bench. Sorry, and Toya, we just think the Broncos might attack down that edge a bit, so there might be a couple of missed tackles and the like there. But we'll wrap the video up there. So as always, if you've got any questions, comments, thoughts, feel free to add them below this video. Give us a like if you enjoy the NRL Fantasy content. Subscribe for all the fantasy sports content on the channel. And other than that, we'll catch you in the next one.